So, hello and welcome to the BizDev Podcast, the podcast about developing your business. I'm your host for the day, Gary Voigt. David's out for the day, so I decided to replace him with someone who is way better at this than he is. So just say hello and welcome our brilliant and talented guest, the editor of the podcast as well. This is RJ.
Hey.
Say hello, RJ.
Hey, it's glad to be here.
Our 5 subscribers are going to say hello.
Yeah.
Now, as usual,
I don't know if I'm, better than David at this, but I definitely get a better backdrop, I would say.
way better backdrop.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know about the beard level might be on par. I don't want to say anything because David really takes pride in his beard.
Yeah.
So, but headphones are a one-up for sure.
There you go. Yeah.
So, yeah, we'll give you a backdrop and headphones.
Yeah, we just leave it there. That's fine.
Now, as usual, we're here to discuss topics ranging from tech news, software development, small business, startups, leadership, strategies for growth, and while it sounds like a lot, they are all kind of related, and we try to keep you mildly entertained as we go. All right, well, since we do have the editor of podcast on the show today as a guest, not just an editor of podcasts, but also a video content creator, social media content creator, and member of our marketing team, I think I'm going to use this to leverage the subject matter for the day, and we're going to talk about some video and some social media content. But first, just to talk about something kind of topical and in the news is I wanted to ask your opinion about Apple adding advertisements within their ecosystem as far as you'll see it on your phone, you'll see it on Apple TV, you'll see it in the App Store. It's not going to be everywhere, but if you do read the article from Bloomberg, which we'll link in the show, it kind of gives you the description of what Apple's trying to do. Since they gave you the permission to change your privacy settings and not let other apps track you and sell your data for marketing purposes, it seems kind of odd that now they're going to start tracking you and targeting you for marketing purposes, but maybe it's just their way of cornering the market on that. From the mock-ups I've seen, it doesn't look like it's going to be overtly in your face. It's kind of like if you already scroll through Apple News and then you'll see their promos throughout, or even on Apple TV sometimes you'll see a little promo for Apple shows that it looks like a commercial. I think they're just going to start doing that more often, but for other companies that are going to advertise with them. Have you read the article or have you seen this topic in the news? Do you have any thoughts on this?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of expected it, I guess. It is, 2022, and it's just kind of the way of the world. There's ads everywhere, and so it just kind of figured it would be one day that they would do this, and maybe it was a little bit more cynical of an approach or a thought process, to what they were doing. But I just figured that with this whole deal that they're going through with Meta and everything, that eventually they were going to offer their own source of ads. They're almost like they were pushing Facebook out to make way for themselves to make a little bit of money. So I don't know that it's going to be as obtrusive as we may think it is. I from a privacy standpoint, I was very much looking forward to them protecting our rights and all that kind of stuff, and protecting our data. But at the same time, it's just to be expected from a business. That's how they make money.
Yeah, it is a bit ironic that it's like, no, you can't have the data. There are users. We're going to use that data. So
that said, in the article that you shared, that there's one thing that was interesting of note. They said, that they're not going to jump across apps themselves. It's almost like they're going to play by their own rules. They're not going to.
They're in charge of the structure of the program itself, like the advertising program. So they're going to be picking and choosing what to put in where, and it's not going to be directly linked back to the third party. So they can't take your information that way at all. I'm sure they're going to be charging a nice premium for that advertising space for sure, but.
Well, speaking of advertising space, did you see that they're also going to be offering ads on apps? I know it's really more so of like, if you're an app developer or, a startup or whatever, and you're creating an app, that you would then be able to advertise your app. And obviously not just startups can do it, anybody can do it. But the idea is that, an app, an existing app, could then market themselves, place an ad inside of an area, a search, area of apps that are similar to it. So if you look up one app that maybe has the reviews and everything to put it at the top of the list, then this would, paying for this ad would then list you up there with that other ad, or with that other app rather, through that ad. Very similar to the way Amazon does their ads, where you'll search for an item and then there will be like sponsored items towards the top of the list, where it's not something that is organically showed up at the top of the list, but somebody is paid to place their item higher in the list when you're searching for whatever it is that you're trying to buy.
Yeah, I have a feeling it's gonna serve a really niche market of high dollar advertising spenders and big companies, and they're going to be able to kind of get their ads in front of people that might, be the type of people that are going to spend a lot of money for those products and services. I think it's going to take a lot of the randomness of what you see based on an algorithm in your feed, and then 7 other semi-related topic advertisements coming through as well. So it might be a little bit more niche or a little bit more prevalent to your own habits, viewing habits.
So let me ask you this: is there any way that this would help you guys at Big Pixel? You're working with web development and app development and creation and all that. Is there any scenario where you are able to take advantage of these ads within the App Store, whether it's promoting your own content or promoting your clients?
I mean, if there were apps that we developed for a client and we were labeled as the developer, and that client's app is getting some traction, and we maybe, yeah. I mean, if we were developing a different app, I don't know what that would mean as far as competition between past client, current client, or if that's a thing. But if there's a way where you can get the developer name in the recommendation list for similar apps, or hey, you liked other apps by this developer, try this, that might generate some interest. I think it would be more interest for the app than it would be for people, wanting apps built by us in that way. But who knows? Any interest is good interest. And
so it may, there's what it could potentially help you as Big Pixel is concerned. But then what about from a design standpoint of designing these apps? Is there I don't know what to call it, but there's the app store, there's the storefront, the design of what that presentation looks like. I don't know if that's anything that you guys as Big Pixel really have anything to do with, but would that potentially give you an opportunity to play a little bit more with that, design presentation for potential, clients, for your end user of the app that you're developing?
That's a good question. Are you meaning a way for us to leverage our presence on the App Store as a marketing point to clients?
Yeah,
or just a way for us to take advantage of how we present apps that we've built on the App Store to kind of generate?
More so the second question, because you guys have a brand, you have a style, you have what separates you from other businesses. And I know you've talked, extensively about, the way you take pride in your work. You work specifically, well, not only specifically, but you work a lot with startups and founders, that kind of stuff. But I know, because I've worked with you all before, design is a really, really important part of your process, and really something that you guys take seriously. And so I'm just kind of seeing here that there's maybe a potential to set your clients, maybe not so much Big Pixel, but setting your clients apart from a design standpoint, with the App Store presence. Yeah, that's a good question. I know for the apps that we do put up on the App Store, Apple does have some very strict protocols that you have to follow for the imagery that you could put up for the App Store. Certain ones they will take, certain ones they won't take, but you can't really brand the design agency or the development agency within the actual images of the app itself. But perhaps if there's a way we can use the images of the app, like other people have in the past, to present them in a little bit different or unique, that might do something. The only thing is, I think in that sense, it might be a lot of effort put in for little reward, because when people are browsing through the App Store looking for an app
And no matter how cool the little images of the app are and how much, of an explanation of what the app does and those images does for that person, it gets them excited about the app. It doesn't get them excited about, ooh, what company built these, images for the app. But I mean, it can't hurt to have like a defined little like style of how we brand apps. That can't hurt for sure.
Yeah, I guess I wasn't necessarily talking so much about, an advertisement for Big Pixel, because, you go and you look through the App Store, and I guess there is that little, label there that says this is who it's, developed by.
Yeah,
but there's not really necessarily
usually
a way to advertise Big Pixel. But I guess I was more so saying just, as a company that is designing applications for other companies, is there something that you guys can do? I know I'm watching your content, I'm editing your content. You guys talk a lot about, security and safety, data protection, all that kind of stuff. And I know that also design and branding is just really, really important to y'all. And it's important to your clients, and therefore it's important to you. And so maybe there's a way for you guys to, and maybe you're already doing this, but if not, maybe there's a way to set that to a higher standard whenever it comes to that app's presentation within the App Store, especially knowing that now ads are coming down the pipeline. That's something that they're going to be able to do soon. Is, as a startup, maybe there's not as much of a worry of design on the front end, because hey, we just got to get this thing moving and get people invested and, get people to start using. But now they can put ad revenue behind it at the front. So maybe that element takes up a little bit more of a preference on the front end. Just a question, a thought.
Yeah. We do have like a template that we use to publish that stuff when we do publish to the App Store. Some clients we leave that in their hands if they want, because in order to publish to the App Store, you also have an account. You have to have that Apple developer account. Some clients already have that and they want to do it themselves. Some clients require, us to do it, and then we'll do it for them. So it's, it's client by client, but yeah, we do kind of have a style that we use, but it'd be good to explore that and make it a little bit more, I guess, cohesive to us, and see if we could slip in a little bit of Big Pixel flavor on there. This leads perfectly into what I wanted to talk with you about today. It would be the marketing side of the tech industry, or not specifically the tech industry when it comes to building and designing apps, but the tech industry when it comes to, I would say, the new model of advertising. I'm an old, dusty man. Like, I have gray in my beard. I've been designing stuff since way back, and I did work for a publishing company. I worked for an advertising agency, 3 advertising agencies actually, and I've worked for, digital marketers, and I've worked for a national publication and advertising agency that would handle campaigns, throughout the U.S. and stuff like that. And a lot of the work that I've done on the design side has been, design. A lot of it was print related in the beginning, and then that kind of morphed into the digital space, just being like static ads or banner ads or emails and stuff like that. But it seems like that model of advertising is gone now. Like, if you're a small business now, you're not going to look into, doing small print ads in like the phone book or in the newspaper as a way to get your name out. Everything now seems to be social media focused 100%. And then with the digital backbone as well, whether you're having websites, landing pages, campaigns on other people's websites and landing pages and stuff like that. So, since those old traditional advertising models are kind of dead, and the newer models are pretty much the best way to get exposure, I know there's got to be ups and downs with that. I know there has to be things that you should and shouldn't do, content that's going to work and not work. So we've been starting with you guys doing a lot more video, which is why we're doing video in this podcast now. And also just trying to get our message out there through several social media channels at the same time. Creating and developing that content, enough of it to get out there and kind of saturate the targeted areas you want to hit, it's a pretty heavy lift. But I think when the strategy behind it is correct, it's more effective, and I think it's a little bit more manageable. So from your standpoint, I wanted you to kind of just give us an idea of how you can get noticed on social media. Say if you were a small business just starting out, you don't have a huge advertising budget, but you wanted to kind of hit maybe 3 or 4 things that might start. Like, would you recommend just automatically trying to just do advertising for generating leads, or would you try to build your brand and get noticed? Or like, what do you think like a good maybe 2 or 3 pronged approach to getting started in social media advertising?
Sure. Well, actually, I think I might take it in a different direction than even, the leads or their ads or something like that. I think the most important thing is recognizing exactly what you said, which is that, social media is where it's at as far as, what's happening today. Now, that may be different in 10 years, but today it's social media. And there's a ton of apps out there. Those apps, really have different demographics that they reach, and so that's something to consider too from a business. I've worked with plenty of businesses that only are on 1 or 2 apps, and maybe that works, for their business. Maybe, for instance, that they're a tech industry and it's a very specific niche of tech, then they're only on, say, LinkedIn and Twitter. I get it, but there's these different apps. They reach different demographics, and so it's should be considered to even spread yourself out amongst all of them if possible. And then I would say the next thing is to recognize that, like you said, it's easier. The entry level is lower, but
I don't want to say it's easier. That's for sure. Because
right.
With the amount of eyeballs that are on it, in order to get anybody to pay attention, it's difficult to actually get that comprehension and retention.
Right.
It is easier to enter into the space than it would be buying a giant print campaign and sending it out through just a couple papers. So
absolutely. The entry level is just way lower, and so in most cases, there's always the free option of just signing up and posting your content yourself, and hoping that there's organic growth that takes place. So once you've recognized that social media is necessary for the growth of your business, I think, beyond that, the next 2, most important things are consistency of posting, and then repurposing your content. Consistency is important because that's what these algorithms favor. They favor consistency, and depending on the application, the social media platform, depending upon what you're posting, it may differ what the algorithm prefers. For instance, Instagram is moving to like 3 to 5 posts per day, which is just ridiculous. Nobody can do that. I mean, even if you hire a marketing agency, they're not going to post 3 to 5 things per day. And so trying to accomplish that, especially right out of the gate, is not necessary. Just do what you can, just post what you can and be consistent about it, because there's going to be a benefit that's given to you from the algorithms simply based on your consistency of posting in the first place, and then repurposing that content. There's a lot that's going to be that you can reuse. You can do something like this very podcast. You can create a longer form content, a longer form video, and then cut that into shorter form videos, such as Instagram Reels or YouTube Shorts or TikTok videos. But then you can even turn those into carousel posts or just regular standalone image posts. You can turn them into blogs. You can turn them into tweets. Whatever it is, you're able to spread that content out across multiple platforms. And so, as a business owner, especially if you're like a startup or a founder, it may be hard to say, I've got to set aside time to create video content. You're trying to run a business. You're trying to grow. Like, setting aside that time doesn't seem like it should be something that's a priority. But the truth is, if you want to grow your business in 2022, social media is where it's at. Social media may not be the thing in 10 years, but today it is the thing. And so if you want to grow your business, this is just a necessary part of that process. So, if you can find, 30 minutes a week to set aside and record some video content, then you can repurpose that content across multiple platforms and in multiple different formats as well. You might have to do some of the editing yourself, or you might have to hire an editor or marketing agency. But I mean, even then, everybody's got someone in their family, maybe a younger cousin or somebody like that who can edit content for them. So that might even be something to consider.
Yeah, there's a YouTuber in everybody's family, that's for sure.
Yeah, for sure. There's a YouTuber in everybody's family. And actually, as we're talking about videos and we're talking about social media posts and everything, I don't want to bore you or anybody who's watching or listening to this, but I did bring some notes, some stats, if that's okay for me to share, that just kind of helps to put a point to this, to kind of highlight why it's so important that you use social media and use it to the benefit of growing your business.
You came prepared. That's awesome. That's actually exciting. I want to hear these stats now.
Awesome. Well, here we go. So the average, this is crazy. Average adult, okay? We're not talking about children. We're talking about adults. The average adult spends 95 minutes per day on social media, which is just crazy to me to think about. 87+% of marketing agencies say that they use video in their advertisement strategies. More than 60% of businesses use video on social media. And it's interesting because you would think that, video oversaturates the market. And in many cases it does. And let's go ahead and use a disclaimer here. This stat that I'm about to read was posted in January 22. So there's a lot that's happened in the last 6 or 7 months, but it actually says that that video is underutilized on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Now, I think that's probably not the case for Instagram anymore, but I think you might find that that's still the case on Facebook and Twitter.
Yeah, that does seem
video
to make
is
sense.
underutilized, and so that might be an avenue for you as a business to pursue video in those markets. 93% of companies have acquired new customers via social media video.
93%?
93% of companies that post videos on their social media have acquired a new customer directly as a result of that video. So there's, proof in the ROI, for this video creation process. And then the conversion rate of creating new customers is increased by more than 80% when using videos.
Yeah. It's basically the new primetime television commercials, if you do it right.
Yep. It's definitely new primetime commercials, which is interesting because there's, have you heard of OTT ads, over the top ads you could do on Hulu? And
yeah, well, I've seen them.
Yes.
Yeah. Or like when you pause a show, you'll have a little ad that comes up to the right or the left of the screen. Yeah, those are actually pretty effective.
Yes, those are gaining steam now too. And that's another area where the bar is a little bit lower. It's a little bit more costly than just like a Facebook ad or an Instagram ad.
Yeah.
But potentially, for a more medium to upper end size, business, it could be something that, it's not going to be as costly as putting an ad on a local TV, which I think even 20 years ago that was in the tens of thousands of dollars to put an ad on local
Unless you
TV
went
channels.
with like a really hyper local station and your ad aired late at night, like if you're the local used car lot who has the 15-minute infolmercial at like 2:30 in the morning.
Sure, yeah,
but
other
than that, I'm sure TV advertising has always typically been the priciest form.
Sure. So that's cool to see that you can do these OTT ads and that's, fairly lower budget. And that's the other thing too, is like, these ads and stuff, because we talked about with social media, you don't even have to have ads. There's an opportunity for organic growth here, but obviously ads are like a catalyst to organic growth and towards that reach. And so, ads are great, but it doesn't necessarily have to cost a lot. You could be talking $100 a month, or, if you could do more than that, $100 a week, something like that, and potentially see, some real headwinds here, moving your content forward. And that's another thing I think is important to mention, is that this thing takes time. It can take anywhere from, 3 to 6 months just to build the groundwork, the kind of the top of the funnel versus the bottom of the funnel. It takes a long time to play around with different types of videos and different schedules and different, copy
see
on
what
the video
works, what doesn't.
to see what works and even with ads. I mean, that's frustrating to think of, that it might cost you, $1,000 in ads just failing. Just like making flops to figure out, oh, but if I word it this way, then it works, and
Yeah.
that can be tough on a business to realize and to kind of hold out for when it does start to work.
Yeah, when I used to work in advertising or marketing, like I didn't have my hands in the actual media buys and placement of ads, or the strategy of what ads are being distributed through what channels to what targeted group. I knew, the high level view of it, but I wasn't actually the one putting the stuff together and pushing it out to these platforms. But I do know that one of the most effective ways that you can get your client to actually see the progress is to do a lot of the A/B testing, like you're saying. Even if you're spending $1,000 and you're failing, at least you're learning that, okay,
right,
there's something wrong with this. Let me make this change, see if that gains any traction here.
Yeah.
But at the same time, convincing a client to spend twice as much for maybe half the amount of exposure,
right,
and explaining that that small half of the exposure you're getting is going to be a lot more engaged than, the other 1,500 people that are seeing it and just scrolling by it.
Right.
But so it is touchy to kind of figure that out in between. It can get pricey for a small business as well. But to your point earlier, it doesn't even have to be ads, just getting content out there and kind of building up your brand as far as just a reputation, a face, the name of what you do, the name of your company, and just kind of offering small amounts of value to the people who might be interested. That can go a long way as well.
Right.
And I think, to your point on time, building up that foundation, building up that brand recognition, and getting, your company out there does take time.
It does.
There's just so much out there.
For sure. It does take time.
It's hard to cut through it all.
It's hard to cut through it. It takes time. I think, identifying your niche, you don't want to, as a business, you don't want to get so pinpointed that, you potentially lose out on customers. You want to be broad enough to reach all the people that you should and need to reach. But at the same time, if you're too broad, then you begin to go into areas that have nothing to do with your business, and people who will end up on your website through the process, and they're like, well, this isn't what I'm looking for. Why did you even, why did I even watch your video? Your video had nothing to do with what you're selling. So it's important to kind of narrow that down with your content to figure out, who you are as a content creator, because now as a business you have to be a content creator. That's the honest truth of it, is you're not just a business, but you're a content creator. So you have to figure out who you are as a content creator, how that relates to your business, and then who do you market that to, both organically and through ads. And the nice thing with ads is that you can steer it a little bit more. So you can say like, hey, it resonates with these people, we want to target these people. Or you can say, hey, we think that we should be resonating with this group of people, but it doesn't seem like we are. Maybe we could just spend a little bit of money and see, can we reach those people? Like maybe we just haven't broken through that glass ceiling yet. Maybe we can reach those people if we put a little bit of money behind it. So that's nice that you can play around with it like that, but it's definitely important to figure out, who you should be talking to and what they're receptive to. Yeah.
And like you said, with trying to reach people that might not have got the messaging can be super important as well. Just even the way you frame the value that you're giving or the products that you're selling, the presentation of that just through the messaging, because you got to also remember people aren't going to read an ad and think, ooh, how clever. They probably spend a lot of time on the copywriting on that.
Right.
If it's more than like 10 words.
Right.
It's basically a picture, a headline, and a link.
Yes.
And you need to give them something to get out of it.
Right.
So
go ahead.
Talking about small businesses and the entry point, something that I just thought about while you were talking before, and I was listening, but
go ahead.
You have an opportunity to jump in and get your name out there almost as much as you want.
Yes.
And it's not very expensive.
Right.
But with that comes the responsibility and the time that you're going to actually have to dedicate to that to make it worth it.
Right.
So It is tough to do, especially on your own as a small business in a scale that you think is going to be. It's hard to say, like, if you spend this much, you'll get this much in return.
Right.
Because if one thing is off, or if, like you said, the consistency is not there,
Right.
or you're posting static photos in a video farm, like
Yeah.
it's just not going to work until you keep trying and figure out,
Yeah.
how to get your name out there to the people that are going to see it in a way that they're actually going to consume it.
Right. Well, I do think
it's a double-edged sword, and
Yeah.
I would advise that you get some strategy and some help from people that actually know what they're doing as well.
That's true. Especially if you can afford it. I mean, if we're talking about a marketing agency, if not, I mean, there's a lot of people out there who just are business owners. They've been doing it a while and they can talk to you. You can get free advice from people So that's always an option too. Just to talk to somebody. Online classes and courses and stuff like. Now, be careful because there's a lot of people out there just trying to sell you a bill of goods. But if it's a reputable person, then you can even seek out something like that. But I do think there's a scalability to this, though, because the truth is, like you're saying, if you're a successful business, then you probably have the money to invest in this, and if you do, then you probably should, because you want to match your business. If you have no money to invest, you also don't have a ton of time to invest because you're putting all of your time into this business trying to get it off the ground. So that's where consistency comes in. And so it's like, I can only make one video a week and I can only make 3 image posts a week. Okay, that's fine. Just do that every single week. And then when you get a couple of more customers and then you're able to bring on an employee to help you, maybe get that employee to also help you do some of this. And then you can go from 1 video to 2 videos and 3 images to 5 images. Now you're bringing in even more clients and and so you're scaling up. Now you bring on another employee and then you get to a point where it's like, okay, my employees can't really do this. I want to hire a professional. Okay, now you get to a marketing agency. It starts to cost a little bit of money. But if you were like devoting 2 days out of your week to create all this content and then all of a sudden your business blew up, you wouldn't be able to that profitability would kill your business. You wouldn't be able to keep up with it anyways. So there's a natural progression to this, which is why going back, I think one of those 3 keys is consistency. Whatever you can do, just make sure you do that consistently. Don't worry about what everybody else is doing. Just get going.
That's good advice. And I'm glad that you came with the numbers too.
Yeah.
Flexing on us. All right. So the company that we use now for our marketing is Rogue Pine Creative. And that's part of that company.
Yes, sir. For
the video content and multimedia content, social media content, and done a great job for us, especially for anybody that does watch this video on YouTube. You'll notice we've had some podcasts prior to YouTube, but since we've moved into the video content and we are creating multiple, I guess you could say, small shorts, clips, reels, whatever, as well as just cutting up this podcast into blogs, tweets, Instagram posts, or whatever. It seems to be working out. It seems to be working out for us as far as getting enough people to see what we're doing, building our brand, and getting some response from that. So It's a sound strategy, and it is a strategy. It does take a little bit of time at first, and we're just hoping to see that pay off soon, RJ. So hurry up. Get us some multi-billion-dollar clients. No, I'm just joking.
Yeah, I know.
All right, and just to wrap it up today, we're talking about consuming media, consuming social media, watching videos, shorts, reels, clips, TikToks, whatever. On your phone is fine, but what if you could do that on a 55-inch curved monitor? We're talking about a Samsung product called the Arc. It is a gigantic 55-inch curved monitor. You can call it immersive. I call it just a little ridiculous, but it's also one of those monitors you can flip from horizontal to vertical. So if you want to look up and down as if you were in the space, like a space capsule looking up at the universe and down back at Earth, it's just gigantic. It just seems like it's almost overkill. Right. Now, I love monitors, and I love when like the specs of monitors get so crystal clear and precise. Like I'm on a MacBook Pro, the M1 with the Retina screen, and I've got the Retina iPhone, and I got a 4K UHD monitor at home. I don't have an Apple display at home just because I'd have to sell a kidney for it. But,
yeah.
I do want one. Yeah. But I don't want anything like the 27, maybe even 32 is kind of okay. I can't fathom the use case for me as a designer for either one of those ultra wide screens or something super tall. I know recently there was also that, like, the one panel, was it LG that made that panel that was like a 27-inch, but it was like two of them vertical? Do you know what I'm talking about? Have you seen that one?
I haven't seen that one. I actually own and work on the LG 48-inch ultra wide. So I'm.
Is it curved?
Yes.
Or is it flat?
Yeah, curved 48-inch. So I'm.
And you don't have any problem looking back and forth with that?
Oh,
how close are you? Are you within arm's length?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. No, I'm, maybe a foot and a half from it. There's lots of looking back and forth. It's way overkill and totally unnecessary. But, I edit videos. So my reasoning was,
you need all the different panels.
I wanted to have all this. Well, and now the real overkill is then I have a 32-inch above the 48-inch. So I put all my, like any, messaging, working with a team or whatever is up on that one. And then all my timeline is down on the bottom. So it's way too much. And I agree, like the 55-inch would just be, it's so overkill. It is sold as a gaming monitor. So I guess, that's kind of how, and I think the tilting it vertical thing is so cool that you basically, I think it's got 4 HDMI inputs. So I'm assuming when you do that, it's pulling 3 separate.
Yeah, you could stack.
Yeah.
It did. Yeah, I think there's a video, dope tech video by MKBHD. We'll put the link in the description. But yeah, he turned it vertical and split it out to 3 27-inch 4K screens, like stacked vertically.
Right.
But the other cool thing that I noticed, like, I guess you cannot see it when other people are taking a video of it, so you wouldn't be able to experience it unless you had it in person. But from what he described, if you're playing a game or you're doing something that's center screen, the way the curve is, it's a pretty big arc. So it kind of like fills in all of your peripheral vision as well.
Right.
Like maybe not completely, but you get the sense like your brain compensates for that and almost like completes this, feels like you're in a sphere, like you're in an actual environment that's surrounding you. I'd like to see that. I'd like to experience that.
I would
just to
too.
see what that's like.
They say the same thing about curved TVs. When Samsung first came out with its curved TV, it was like, this is really cool, but you have to sit in the perfect spot. You have to be so many feet away.
That's the thing. You have to be a certain distance.
So I would imagine that this is the same way. And so I feel like it's one of those, like a niche. I know we've used that word a lot in this episode, but it's one of those niche items that is really only, I think it's almost like a flex. Like it's showing off their ability more so than being practical.
You'll see the gamers on Twitch and the YouTubers reviewing it saying like, oh, I got mine.
Right.
But I mean, I don't know if the value there, there's got to be a cutoff point,
right? Because
the distance you're viewing and then the size of the screen at some point, like you said with the TVs, it's useless if you're not sitting at a certain distance.
Right.
So, I mean, what is the cutoff point, and how big of a desk do you guys need?
Yeah,
like
for sure. Yeah, well, I mean,
that thing's got to weigh a lot.
What he said in the video,
just the stand itself
was
man.
a foot. I think he said the stand itself is a foot wide and all metal, and he said it was really heavy just to support. And I'm assuming that's because when it goes vertical, it's kind of actually like leaning out over top of you. You're craning your neck back so that you can see the top of it.
Counterweight to that 55-inch arcing screen. It's going to come down and crush you.
Right. So
it's insane.
It's insane. I think it's cool, but I would never buy it.
It is cool though. It is cool. Yeah. That's the other thing. Like a lot of times these newer products will be presented and, cutting edge, just came out, brand new tech, and everybody's drooling over it. Then a couple months go by and they're like, maybe it's a little overkill. So then it refines itself naturally down into something that's probably a little bit more palatable.
Right.
Like the same thing with folding phones. At this point, I think it's still just kind of more of a, like if you have one, it's like, oh, look, he's got a folding phone.
Right.
Good for him.
Yeah.
But not everybody's in need of a folding phone.
Yeah, I agree.
But it is cool. But
for sure.
All right. So I think we're going to close it out on that. So we went from talking about consuming ads in your scrolls to how to get your ads onto those scrolls and then viewing those scrolls in the largest monitor possible at the moment.
Yes, basically making an ad for the monitor.
Yeah, I mean, you could sit there and just watch like Reels or TikTok videos all day. It would be almost like in older movies, like a form of
Right.
like content immersion where you're trying to brainwash someone.
Right. Yeah, it would be
Now-
anti productivity. There's just too much content at once.
Yeah, that's for sure. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Did you ever see the movie Wall-E?
Oh yeah.
A lot of the newer tech that comes out that are convenient focused just brings me back to that movie of everybody just kind of laying back on a chair and having everything else done for them as they move around on this giant spaceship because Earth is gone.
Right.
This is one of those monitors that I think you'd just be strapped into just all day, not moving, just watching. And then
100%.
Plug that into the metaverse and that's it.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Humanity's gone.
100%.
All right. Well, it was super good talking to you. Super good talking to you today, RJ.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for all the valuable insight on marketing and social media, video content. And hopefully we'll get you back on again.
Yeah.
I'm sure David will skip out. So
Yeah.
we'll have you back for sure.
Sounds good. Thanks for having me.
So for everyone else, if you have any questions or ideas or any comments, anything you want us to talk about, you can get a hold of us at hello@thebigpixel.net. You could follow us on all the social media channels that we're now on, thanks to RJ. And you could even leave mean comments on the YouTube videos if you want. All right. So until next time, see you later.